Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I will be addressing likes and dislikes of Brooklyn College. Okay. I wrote down a bunch of likes and some dislikes of the college, so I'm just gonna go in the order of the things that I wrote. The first thing that I have on the list is the campus. Well, I like the campus. I think that it's very pretty. It's a small campus, it's really cozy. You can't get lost on that campus. And yeah, I don't know. It's like nothing special. It's just, I don't know, it's cool. So the next thing I have is food places. So places like that you can go get lunch, dinner, depending on how long you're staying on campus, breakfast even. Right off the campus, there's a lot of food places. Places like Burger King, Starbucks, Pizza Hut, McDonald's. There's even more. There's Panda Express. There's Popeyes. There's Chipotle. There's like bakeries. There's delis. There's a Subway across the street. Bubble tea. There's like 2 places that you could get near campus. But yeah, it's convenient if you usually buy food, or if you just don't want to bring food that day, whatever your choice is. So classes. So this is different for everyone, and I'm just speaking from my experience during my first semester. My classes have been good for the most part. So this semester I'm taking art history, which I think is like the most basic prerequisite for the art major, which is my major. I'm also taking algebra for pre-calc. I'm taking English composition, which I think that's like the first English class that you take. I'm also taking anthropology, comparative studies and culture. That's a good class. I like that class. And I'm taking earth science lab and the lecture class. Let me start with art. I like art. It's like sometimes the lectures get boring. Sometimes it becomes hard to pay attention for me personally, but we do some fun things. This semester we had two museum visits. We went to the Brooklyn Museum, and recently, like last week, we went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and both were very fun experiences. We got to see a lot of cool things, and it's like, the good thing about that is if you can't make it, like, it's not mandatory. Like, it would be nice, but if you can't make it, there's other ways for you to catch up with the work, because I know like probably 95% of the students that go to CUNY schools are commuter students. So at least my professor, she always like accounts for that and just tries to make it so that it works out for everyone, which is really awesome. As far as the work, in my class this semester, we do like every week there's a Blackboard discussion board based on a reading that was prepared for, like, you read it before the lecture, and those are pretty easy. They ask like pretty straightforward questions. Rarely are they ever like opinion based, if at all. And then like when we go to the museums, we would like complete a worksheet. Actually, let me go get that worksheet. This is not the worksheet.
Bruh.
I will be right back. Okay, I can't find it, but I will try to get a picture of it to attach in this video. So basically it's like a worksheet that you fill out. It's not always the same worksheet for each visit. The first visit, the worksheet was more like a scavenger hunt, and the second visit, it was more just like straightforward questions based on the exhibit that we were in, which this time it was like abstract expressionism, I think. Yeah, so that's that. For my English class, I'll talk about the homework first because that's easier to talk about, and a lot of the times the classwork is based on the homework. So for that class, you kind of really have to do the homework. So basically, on Mondays you would have an assignment due. Like it's in my class, it's assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3, and it's based on like whatever you're doing in class. But on Wednesdays, it's like a reading. Most of the time you're reading the whole thing, which is not long at all. It's like, I think the longest one that I've read is like 8 pages, but it's not even like full pages. It really depends on the layout of the article that you read, because most of the times it is an article, an essay, sometimes it's an excerpt from a book. And then you like do 5 annotations or questions, and then at the end you do a summary. So that's really, really easy to do. It usually takes me like 20 minutes tops. Assignments are usually like essays, but it's not like each assignment is an essay. It's like every 3 assignments is a component of the type of essay that you're eventually going to be handing in, which I think is really cool. It really helps like build the structure, like a really good structure for the essay. Like kind of takes off the stress of just like saying like, oh, every week you have to hand in an essay. It's not like that. Sometimes it may seem like that depending on like how much you have to write, but it really is much easier than that. And yeah, my professor is really cool. I think he's awesome. I love the comments that he leaves a lot of the times, like if he agrees with something that you wrote, if like he feels like there's something that you could expand on in your writing, he'll ask questions to help further like the thinking process in a way. He'll be like, oh, based on what you wrote, how do we see this differently, or how can we view this? So, questions like that. And I don't know, personally I think that's really cool. I'm sure most teachers do that, but I don't know. My math class is actually fully online. So how it works is every week you have like 1 to 3 chapters due. It's like, it's not the same every week. It could be one chapter, 2 chapters, 3 chapters, and that's usually due on a Sunday. And then the next day, Monday, you would have like 1 to 2 things due. Sometimes most of the time it's a quiz, and then if there's a second thing, it's usually the prerequisite for the quiz. Yeah, and it's pretty easy. I just hate math, so I wish I didn't have to take it at all. But yeah, it's not too difficult if you watch the videos, follow the work. Most of my classes like even provide extra credit, which is nice, and I usually take advantage of that opportunity. Sometimes the math feels like actually a lot. It takes like longer than I would like it to, but I mean, it is what it is, and it's not forever, so we might as well just do it, get the grade, and get it over with. Anthropology. So I really like that class because we talk about a lot of cool topics. I've had friends in the past telling me like, oh, don't take anthropology, like it's bad, like it's not a good class. But honestly, I think it really depends on the professor. And also I didn't have a choice. Like all of my classes were picked for me this semester. Yeah, so that class is fun. We talk about stuff like race, and oh, by the way, not all anthropology classes are the same. Like I said, mine is comparative studies and culture. And so we basically talk about what is culture, like what defines culture, what defines race, what defines sex, gender, stuff like that. How cultures from different parts of the world compare to westernized societies. We have reading responses. You have to do 5 reading responses throughout the whole semester. And you really have to pick your reading responses wisely, because depending on which one you pick, it could help you with the final essay and final project, which is pretty cool. Which is also not too hard. It's a little scary at first because the final project part of it is a presentation, and I don't like being the center of attention. I don't want people looking at me. But yeah, it's really not that bad. You just do it and get it over with, and it's fine. And what else? The reading responses, I don't like the reading responses. They're like all opinion based, and I'm very bad at when it comes to that. They're hard for me to do. They usually take me a long time. But I mean, like I said, same with math. It is what it is. You just gotta do it and get it over with. And earth science. So my lecture class and my lab class are on 2 different days, and they're very different. My lecture class is probably the most boring class I've ever taken. The professor's nice enough. He's pretty cool. It's just earth science. I don't like earth science. It's very difficult for me to grasp for most of the topics, like plate tectonics and stuff like that. I don't know. I can never grasp it. It's really boring. And actually halfway through the semester, my professor went, like, we're online now, so it's just virtual meets and like Zoom classes, and it's honestly much easier, especially if you have, like me, you have a wide gap in your schedule where you can just go home after your first class, rather than what I used to have to do was wait 3.5 hours for that class in person, and it's so boring. But yeah, it's much better now. The midterm, so most of the classes you're gonna have a midterm and a final, and that's like in the most general sense of the word, like more towards final, because like for my anthropology class, I don't have a final exam. I just have that final project, which is the presentation and the essay. But then in most of my other classes, I do have final exams. So when I took the midterm in my earth science class, it was very difficult. And some of my other friends in that class, like, we all agreed, like, the questions that were on the exam, I don't know, maybe it was the way it was worded, or I don't know, it just didn't seem like anything that we learned in class. So I don't know, I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, that class is like okay, it's like whatever. And then my lab class is great. I love that class. It's probably like my favorite class this semester. The teacher is really cool. I think she's awesome, and the way she teaches is also really nice. We still do some lectures, however, it's like, I don't know, she teaches it in a way that you can actually retain the information. And then the labs are also very easy. She helps a lot with them. She'll answer any questions you have, which is great. I know some people, and they have professors that like won't answer their questions, and I'm like, how do you get through this class? But yeah, so overall I would say my classes are pretty cool. And for the ones that are a little bit more difficult, you know, you just gotta get them over with, because they don't last forever, and you can pick other classes next semester with going forward with the knowledge that you have about the previous semester. So yeah. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is commuting. So this is not the same for everyone, but I'm just going to tell you from my experience, commuting isn't too bad. I commute Monday through Thursday, and it's not too bad. I mean, I commute from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on where I'm coming from and like the time. When I leave earlier in the morning, it usually is faster than when I leave in like 10 in the morning or like 9. But yeah, there's lots of trains and buses around. Well, kind of. So on one end of the campus, you can catch the 2 train and the 5 train, and then on the other side, you can catch the B6 bus. The B6, depending on the time you go, it can be either very empty or packed to the brim, and I mean like sardines in a can. My anthropology class ends at 3:30, and because we're right next to a high school, the accumulation of students between the high school and the college, like just trying to go home. I'm gonna try to put a picture just so that you guys can see, because I have definitely taken pictures purely out of disbelief of how many kids are there. And sometimes I have to end up waiting for like 4 buses just to get on a bus where I can sit, because or even like stand to the point where I'm not like squished against other people, because there's 2 B6s. You can take the limited one, which is faster, and you can take the regular B6 bus, which is a little bit longer. And sometimes I'm on the bus for an hour, and I don't want to stand up for an hour. But yeah, so it really depends on the time. I mean, I can complain, but I really don't have a choice. So yeah, after a while it just becomes routine, and you get used to it. You get used to knowing what times are good to leave, what times are not. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, now really Wednesdays, my last class ends at 4 o'clock, and usually the bus stops are not packed. There's only a couple people there, as opposed to half an hour earlier when I leave on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I leave at 3:30, and there's so many students, and I'm like, it's only a half an hour difference. Where is everyone going? But I'm not complaining. I'd rather leave at 4 o'clock than 3:30. But yeah, so overall the commute is what it is. It's not too bad. Blackboard. So I know for different colleges, I think for all of the CUNYs you use Blackboard. I personally hate Blackboard. I think it's difficult to use. Sometimes I don't even get notifications from Blackboard. I don't know what that's about. I just don't like the whole Blackboard interface. I've gotten used to it now because I've been forced to use it for all of my classes. Yeah, I don't know, I don't like it. And not every teacher uses Blackboard. Some teachers, I've had friends tell me that some teachers use Google Classroom. Some teachers like just use their regular email. Yeah, most of my classes require Blackboard. And another thing is, unless your teacher posts all of the work on Blackboard, you are not going to see your actual grade until the end of the semester. Because in my anthropology class and my art history class and my earth science class, you're only getting the grades of the certain assignments that your professor is putting. And my professors don't put every single assignment on there. So you're not able to see your final grade until probably the end of the semester, or if there's another way that your professor shows your grades. So for my English class, we don't use Blackboard, we use Google Drive, and each student has their own folder. And he also has a separate Google Sheets where he puts all of your, like, it's a cumulative grade of your assignments, your annotations, your attendance, your participation. So yeah, it's confusing. In a different college that I had been to, we used Canvas, which I personally like a lot better. It's just easier. You see your cumulative grade in all of your classes, and I don't know, I just think it's a better experience overall. But here we use Blackboard. I'm gonna go back a little bit to the whole thing of high school being next to the college, because I want to talk about that a little bit more. So yeah, we do have a high school next to the college, and sometimes it gets so crazy. And I'm not talking not only about how many students are there, but I don't know. I don't remember myself being like this in high school, but the students are just crazy. Like, I have witnessed fights going on right at the bus stop that have led into the middle of the streets. There are police stationed at the bus stop, and I'm like, what are you guys getting paid for? They just stand there and watch everything happen, and I'm like, oh, what's the point? But yeah, it's loud and congested, and just sometimes it's just so out of control. And not every student is like that. There's just a lot of students like that, and I would say it outnumbers the amount of students that are just trying to go about their day, trying to go home from high school. But it is what it is. The next thing I want to talk about is the whole like commuter life. And this is not just Brooklyn College, I'm going to assume, because I have other friends that go to like City College, Queens College, like that. And just the whole commuter life is kind of lonely. It's hard to make friends sometimes. And I'm sure this is not the same for everyone. It's kind of like you get up in the morning, you go to your classes. Once your classes are done, you go home. And that's pretty much it. I don't usually hang out. I don't usually hang out like on campus much, unless I have to like study with a friend for class or something like that. It's a little lonely, but I don't know. Recently, I've been able to make a couple of friends in my anthropology class, and it just makes the whole experience a lot better having friends on campus. So I don't know. I would say if you're an introvert like me, try to break out of that a little bit. And I know it's hard because in the beginning of the semester, I was not trying to make any friends, and then I realized this is sad. I realized I was like, this is not fun. Like, I don't want to it feels like so monotonous and lonely. Like, that's the best word I can come up with, lonely. It's just not great. But when I was able to make friends and I see them and I study with them and I walk to class with them, it's just a better experience overall. And that's just my opinion. Obviously not everyone is going to agree with me, but I just think having a couple of friends just makes life better. That is my take on Brooklyn College. If you have any other questions that I didn't address or anything else that you want me to talk about, go ahead and just leave a comment. I'm pretty sure I addressed most of this stuff because I think about it a lot, and I just wrote a bunch of things down. But yeah, if there's anything that I didn't address, just go ahead and comment, like, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it was very long. But yeah, thanks for watching.